Something about you, Joe, though. I feel like you've always got 6 degrees of separation with everyone.
Give me slowing down. Slowing down. I'm going to be in there.
Yeah.
I have been self-managed on the discussion project. Sharing this stuff with this there was a story that I think about but it was about listening. You might know it. I'm gonna have to find it. It's exclusive, but he takes his friend. There was the horse, and then it was like,
And he come into the office?
yeah.
Girl?
I love that. That was so cool.
Well, at least you get it out of the way, right? We'll have it hanging over you.
They'd be very highly motivated, the operators for that.
I'm going to say that in my intro. And make sure you ask her about the news. I'll put you on the spot.
So Cyber makes that claim,
I couldn't hear what he said.
I mean, and look, we were on the record as being very opposed to Biden actually said we would take it out of that record. And there are another couple. The mysterious yacht is on which
Hello, everybody.
explosives were found, traces of elements. That was actually registered. Yeah, I think Poland is very proud. Poland, that's the most likely. It wouldn't have been undertaken by
Exactly.
Hello. So I am Jeff Harrison. Been a member of Rotary here since about June of last year, and I'm your sergeant at arms today. Got roped into this by Bob, and I tried to get out of it. And he said, "I got to do all this stuff." He's like, "No, that's not excuse." Here I am. And so let's start off by on our esteemed president, Omar here. And Omar and I have known each other for a really long time. I think the first time I met him, I believe he was a year older. I was at Phillips Senior High, and he DJ'd our dances. And that's probably about the first time I met him. Great, yeah, and that relationship, everything. So I'm going to tell a little story about him. This is probably, I don't know, probably 1990. He was home from University of Colorado, summertime. And we're all, leaving the bar. Fake IDs probably, and Omar was asking me, like, Jeff, all these girls were talking to you. How do you do it? I'm like, well, Omar, easy. What we gotta do, a potato, we gotta dance. Try it out. So, a couple nights later, we go out again, and nothing happens for him. And he comes up and says, Jeff, why isn't this working? I did what you told me. I'm like, well, Omar, you're supposed to stick the potato down the front of your pants. Okay, that's my joke. Next, I'm going to. We've lost a lot of members in the past few months. Most recently, Ron Link and Bill Wichman has asked me if he could, as for our prayer, read a passage in his honor. So come on up, Bill. You need the stage over here for that.
As most of you know, Ron used to entertain us with his dry wit, his great humor, his music trivia, and as Sergeant at Arms. And often, rather than calling on someone to do the blessing, he would read the lyrics of For the Beauty of the Earth. So I'm going to read a couple of verses and memorialize and remember Ron. For the beauty of the earth, for the glory of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human love, brother, sister, parent, child, friends on earth and friends above, for all gentle thoughts and mild. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, next on the agenda, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Karen Levine and her crew. Karen spearheaded put together this tech cycling that we have going on right now. So, Karen, you want to stand up? There she is. Thank you very much. Thank you, Karen. Visiting guests and visiting Rotarians today. It looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you who's it from? Libby Stoltz is first. And, oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So, Gardner, could you introduce? Yes. Next to Jennifer Player with the community.
Yes, I have a few members of the Habitat Board of Directors, Betsy Blackwell, who is our board chair, and Cammie Shoup, who's our past board chair, and this is Cammie's second visit here. They're here to see our guest speaker, Anna, who's also on the Habitat Board.
Okay, next we have Angela with Luke Rick, who's actually another Chapel High grad.
Yes, some of you know Luke has been a member of East Chapel Hill Rotary Club for a long time, and he's taken a sabbatical for a few years here. Probably won't go ahead, so my friend Luke Rick.
And last but not least, we have Kathy Thomas with Bruce Yeager.
I'm Kathy Thomas, a member of about 2.5 years, and this is my visiting guest, Bruce Yeager from Knoxville, Tennessee.
So I hope you all enjoyed my first time as Sergeant at Arms.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes.
I've got a guess as well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I probably forgot to write it down.
That's okay.
My guest today is Lily Engelhardt. She's also works for Edward Jones, just in East Town Park.
And I have a guest here too, Kaiser Ko, who was with us a month ago speaking, and Joe especially invited him back. So if you'll put it, Kaiser, on Joe's bill, please.
And thank you for letting me speak today, briefly. Today we have our guest is going to be Anna Wu, who will be introduced after Omar speaks to everybody here. Thank you again.
Good afternoon, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Good deal. So I was gone last week. I was down in Guatemala, our quinceañera. So it's great to be back with you Americans. We have another announcement real quick from Judge Jenkins.
So hopefully you can hear me. You know that I'm reticent in embarrassing one of our members. I would never do that unless I was forced to, of course. So, Bob, would you stand up? So, as you all know, there's been a lengthy competition between a group called the Woodruff Warriors and nobody should clap at that. And the East Chapel Hill Rotary serving dinner at Sekou House. So, I get a phone call on Wednesday night. You can sit down, Bob. No, you don't get to talk. This is my announcement. So I get a call Wednesday night from Bob, and he said, "You won't believe this. We ran out of food at 6:30. They are full. They've sent a message said you got to prepare for 70 people. So we're in a different era here. We've been waiting for the pandemic to end and them to kind of fill the new renovated Sekou House. So my plea is, if you want to help, you want to make food, if you want to come help and serve, great. But we have to have enough food to serve those 70 people. And when you run out, it's very embarrassing, right, Bob?
Thank you, Joe. Bob, do you have anything you want to add to that?
First of all, I would just like to say that more Rotarians participate on the Woodruff Warrior team than do on Joe Jenkins. So y'all need to help Joe get more people there.
Thank both of you guys for all you do.
I knew I shouldn't have let him.
All right, we have sent out a survey to the club. We had a very tepid response to that survey. So Tim Smith sent it out again this week. I think he sent it out either Wednesday or Thursday. But the survey is asking all of you, all of the Rotarians in this club, if they are interested in doing a beach trip, just a one day and overnight somewhere to, Wilmington area or somewhere like Emerald Isle, Beaufort. So if you have not responded, please respond to that. Right now, I think we've got me, Tim, Rob Malin, and Peggy going, and Jeff Harrison. But whoever goes, we're gonna have a good time. You best believe that. So please do respond. And for those of you who do not have internet, just please, Al or Moyer, please just tell myself or Tim if you have a preference, if you're interested in going. Also, late breaking news. Mike Clayton already left? Yeah, he has left. We are going to be doing a Rotary cookout, kind of like we do at the Rooster Hut. We're going to be doing a Rotary cookout on May 4th, in about 3 weeks. We're going to be doing that at Mark Hunt's place, out off from Mount Carmel. Who's been to Mark Hunt's place? Raise your hand. Okay.
No, wait. This is his new barn.
This is new barn. Yeah, this is not his house. Thank you, Bill. Mark has bought that whole property there on Parker Road. You got Mount Carmel, you got Sparrow Cemetery, you got Parker Road. So to the right of Parker Road is that whole field there. So Mark has purchased that. He's totally redone the barn. They do have restroom facilities. They have cooking areas. So we're gonna look at putting together a cookout there, maybe a steak cookout. For those of you vegetarians, you can bring your favorite tofu or vegetables. But we're going to have a cookout on May 4th. So mark the date in your calendar. You're welcome to bring your spouses. It's not, you can bring your kids if you want, but it's really oriented towards Rotarians and their spouses. And we'll have meals. We'll have some nice alcoholic beverages and anything else that you want to bring along. So does anyone else have any other announcements they'd like to make? Peg Dog.
I put one of these on each of your table. Our club is very generous and is a sponsor for this benefit. It's next Saturday at the farm, the UNC Faculty Club. You don't have to buy a ticket, you can show up. Hear about some of the good things happening in Eden. Everything is not just wars and death and dying. There are people still working very hard. Reforestation, fresh water, a whole bunch of projects that wheels for ages. Yes.
How is the money getting there? Always worry about it getting where it's really going.
In fact, one of the members of our board, who is a priest in Haiti, is flying in for the occasion. There are still people who can fly in and out.
So it's not going through the government at all?
Yeah, there's no problem. We use Full Crusade. We do not use the money. It's a separate banking system called Full Crusade. They have about 27 offices. You can ask me later. I can tell you a lot more. Come and join us. We're going to have goat food, goat station stuff. You've never had goat food? Good. Three bands.
Awesome. And Russ, if you're willing to donate, we'll make sure it gets there. Those gold bars, whatever it is. Thank you, Peggy. Jen Player is now going to introduce our speaker for the day.
Thank you, President Omar. So we were joking at my table over lunch about whether we knew Anna Wu before she joined the Habitat Board. And we were sort of joking, no, we didn't know Anna personally, but we knew who she was. And that's how I felt. So I met Anna a few years ago. She was recommended to the Habitat Board because we were doing this big project and we really needed people who had construction and real estate development, architecture expertise. And so I was very nervous going in and making this pitch to Anna, whom I knew and had seen at town council meetings, but had never met. And I'll just say that over the past 3 years of working with her, I'm no longer quite as intimidated. She is the kindest, most humble, loyal, funny person that you will meet. And I'm not just saying this because she's going to be the board chair next year, which means she'll really be my boss. But I'm so glad that she's agreed to share her experience with us. She's just retired from UNC after 28 years at the end of March, so you are catching her fresh on retirement. So please give a warm East Chapel Hill Rotary welcome to Anna Wu.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I see a lot of familiar faces, and I suspect a lot of you know the university better than me. So if I misstate anything, please don't hesitate to correct me in the Q&A. Okay? But I am here to sort of talk about, I mean, I think a lot of this is information maybe you all have experienced, but maybe what we're going to do, and some of these slides are slides that were prepared by our longtime master planning firm that we worked with for many years, Air St. Rose. So they put together this really nice timeline. I'm going to show just a couple of, just to set the stage of development at university since its inception. And so in this one you can see, of course, the slide, the buildings, 1795 to 1850. So things didn't happen that quickly during that era. And you see Old East Person, South Building, Old West, and Girard. Moving forward to the next period, and of course this is both before and after the Civil War, another 64,000 square feet were added, still congregated along Cameron, between Cameron and Franklin Street. Moving to 1901 to 1920, there was a big burst of growth, 544,000 square feet. This is the era that McKinley and White were planning on our campus, and they basically started to lay out Polk Place and what you'll see in the next slide, the expansion. Oh, okay, the expansion down to the stadium, Keenan Stadium. And their plan essentially formed the basis of the residential campus. And so they located the residence halls that you all know, upper and lower quads, and the bones of Polk Place, and located Keenan Stadium, which of course was often the case. Stadiums were located on stream beds because of their natural banks to the north, in this case to the north and south side. Then moving post-war, a big expansion, the introduction really of many of the health sciences schools and the hospital. So you'll start to see the hospital, which at the time faced north, and now you can't see that side, it all faces south, but you can see that footprint. And then 61 to 80, a big period of growth. All the Odom Village units were built. Again, health science schools were really coming into their own, and the research campus. You start to see the growth of the research campus, and the campus stretches across Manning Drive. 81 to 2000. How many people were here in Chapel Hill? Actually, I meant to ask. How many people were here during this period? Okay. That's a good number. How about 81 to 2000? Okay, terrific. So I joined in 95, and while the campus felt like it had grown quite a bit, and you can see from 81 to 2000, we were at 14 million square feet. In that time period, we grew by 5.5 million square feet. And I think this is also probably the period where the town and the university start to diverge a little, in the sense that the university was the source of the phone, the power, the steam, the telephone, and all those things start to separate in this time period. And you see, if your old member Jonathan Howes was still with us, he could relate some of that. There are probably people here who remember the establishment of more of these town things versus the university. So I came in 95 and worked on a number of projects, but I would say the biggest The biggest transition for me was really in 2001 to 2015. 99, under Chancellor Hooker, we engaged Air St. Gross to do some planning for us, to update the campus master plan. It had not been updated in 15 years, and the previous plan had pretty much capped the university growth at about 14 million square feet. The thinking then was that we were going to grow at Carolina North, what we now call Carolina North, what we then called Horace Williams. And part of that cap was because at the time, that's what our zoning limit was, that we would grow to 14 million and that would be that. But in 2000, when Chancellor Measer arrived, there was a lot happening in the institute, within the UNC system, as the schools all were starting to prepare for what was anticipated to be a really large enrollment growth of college-age students in the state. And so this master plan was actually quite fortuitous because it provided the roadmap for our growth, and it was really shaped around the enrollment needs at the time. And we were expecting an expansion of maybe 3,000 undergraduates, which was a tremendous number. For those of you who were here then, and Jennifer mentioned recognizing me from town council meetings, yeah, I spent a lot of time at town council. We persuaded the council then that growth on campus was not a bad thing, that we did have an obligation to the state to continue to educate as many North Carolinians as we could, and we piloted really a new zoning district and a new development plan that raised the cap on our square footage in exchange for mitigations for traffic, stormwater, noise, and light. I'm proud to say that the stormwater standards that we piloted in 2000 became the stormwater guidelines for the town. And so I think we did have a chance to really push some new ideas in this town that were then adopted. So 2001, the development plan was approved, and we received $500 million from the legislature. Chancellor Measer, who I'm sure has come and spoken to this group, pledged to leverage that investment, and that $500 million program grew to be a $2 billion program. And that was really, that was a reflection of new residence halls that we brought on, new infrastructure that we brought on, many new academic buildings, renovations of old academic buildings, and a huge proliferation in our research. So that is, in a nutshell, what sort of laid the groundwork. So here I talked a little bit about I should have advanced the slides, but these were the principles that guided the 2001 plan, and then the update in 2006. So 2001, the trustees, we were growing at a rather rapid clip. In 2005, I think every building on South Columbia between Manning and South Road was under construction. So many of you probably remember that there were cranes littering the skyline. And I think the trustees got a little, well, it was just happening, really. We said, here's our plan, we're gonna do it, we're gonna implement it. They asked us to revisit it because we were growing at such a rapid rate, and to just confirm those principles. They did approve that. And you can see in 2001, that plan anticipated the expansion, or the campus could accommodate another 11 million square feet. By 2006, we had 4.5. So that sort of shows you some plans, some of the footprints we took off, but that's because we had probably close to 6 million square feet in planning. That's how fast we were growing. And people at the time like to say that we were planning essentially the redevelopment of Wake Forest University within the confines of main campus, because that's about the square footage of Wake Forest, or they've probably explained. So these were the principles that we that really guided the development of the design, and design guidelines were a big part of the 2001 plan. So the trustees who were leading that effort were somewhat concerned by some of the buildings that came up in the 80s and 90s. They felt that those buildings really weren't consistent with campus, and they were large. There were a lot of big buildings, and so they really wanted to make sure that this master plan included design guidelines so that we could grow in a way that would still make the campus feel like Carolina. And that's a really interesting idea, to make it feel like Carolina, because Carolina has many different kinds of places. But I think the biggest thing that guided us was to make sure that the campus would be walkable. And if you think back to those of you who were here in 2000 or in 19, you couldn't really say that the campus was that walkable. It was great from South Road to Franklin Street, but all of the students lived on the southeast side. And I remember this very clearly where Chase Hall was, that when you walked from the high rises, you went down from Morrison 40 feet to where the football center, the old football center was. Then you walked up another 30 feet to get back to Stadium Drive. So that I would not consider to be very walkable. And you walked, of course, through a parking lot. On the bell tower side, you walked through that giant C, that 700-car parking lot. For those of you who were going from Medical Drive, if you remember, you went down these rickety stairs behind the wings, and you would end up in the base of that parking lot. You'd walk through the parking lot. I'm not really sure why you were going to walk north, except, you know, presumably if you wanted to go to the library, you had to cross that sea of parking. So the main part, the whole middle of the campus was really just, it wasn't very penetrable. And it wasn't, and it didn't, I don't think it was very conducive to a lot of our students were traveling. And so we developed guidelines on campus that talked about scale, and that they were designed for the different precincts on campus. So we wanted to recognize that guidelines for developing along Polk Place, which is, this is a picture of the Science Center, would not be the same as guidelines that you might use in the health affairs part of campus, where you're really building big lab buildings. But we knew that we wanted to make them walkable. We knew that we wanted to make sure that people who were on South Campus could enjoy the same kind of open space amenities that you would find in the historic campus. And that while the design of the building might change, to reflect really the programs of the building, what would be consistent and what we are really almost slavishly consistent is the landscape. Because really at Carolina, the landscape is everything. So brick walks, different designers would come and they'd say, well, how about a stone walk? No, how about a brick walk? How about a herringbone? No, how about a running bond? No, we're gonna make it really consistent. We use accents of the stone, the Chatham stone, where that's appropriate. And we learned along the way that a Chatham stone wall is not really meant to be 8 feet high. That, you know, really, a landscape Chatham stone wall is what we're after. And trees. Trees and turf are the essence of Carolina. So we were fortunate enough to be able to really do a lot of open space improvements together with the building improvements. It's very often hard in the crazy way that the university develops things to design the connective tissue, as we call a lot of those walks, as part of buildings. It's just the way it's budgeted. But we managed to figure out a way how to do that. And we certainly utilized all of our infrastructure improvements to make improvements along the way. So the hot water project around South Building brought us the brick parking lot that is now adjacent to South Building. We used a steam line replacement project to help us build the bridges from Rams Head Plaza south and to the north. So we really had to be very creative in terms of how we piggybacked projects to get as much leverage and improvement out of them as possible. South Campus, I mentioned space and placemaking, and so here's the walk from Rams Head Plaza to the Student and Academic Services building. I remember the first time I went to the Smith Center after this project was opened, it felt like, oh, it doesn't feel that far anymore. You can park somewhere on Southwood. You can be, I mean, from Rams Head Plaza down to Morrison is accessible. I mean, it's not just level, but it really is, it's an accessible walk. And so that's an idea, that's an example of a project where we really use the building to help us mitigate the elevation changes. South Columbia, those of you who have been here for a long time remember that South Columbia, the sidewalk used to go right behind the curb, and it's a busy road, and we completely re-landscaped that street. Now it's interesting. This is Manning at the residence halls. When I first got here, there was nothing between Manning and the high-rises. So you would see a lot of beaten down grass where the students would throw frisbee in their front lawn of the high-rises. And if it went out to Manning Drive, it went out to Manning Drive. It was like, not necessarily, it might be good for the hospital, but not good for the student. So we cited those 4 new residence halls because we had made this commitment to build 3,000 beds. And then introduce the Cameron Avenue streetscape to Manning. And I think now when you, I mean, these photos are probably 15 years old. There's a mature canopy now on that part of Manning, and it looks completely different than what many of you may have remembered when you first arrived here in Chapel Hill. This is a photograph of the Genome Sciences building. We used this project. We built this lab building. We took all the cars and put them into a parking deck, and we have this really open space, bell tower amphitheater, that is on top of a very large stormwater cistern. I think this transformation of that bell tower parking lot is maybe one of the, there are just a few of these projects that really were transformative in my mind. This is definitely one of them. I mean, athletics loves this on game day, so for those of you who are tailgate people, while we took away your parking space, we do have tailgate, I know they put up tents and they utilize that quite a bit. The student activities certainly use it, and there are oftentimes concerts, but it's just, it's a great amenity for the connection between the academic affairs and the health affairs. It also allows for a much nicer transition to Medical Drive, so there are elevators in the deck that take you up to Medical Drive, and now to the south you'll see the new expansion for nursing as well as the medical school. This is Cameron, and no, this is South Columbia, and so in the Hooker building, and we completely re-landscaped that streetscape, again, introducing the Cameron Avenue elements, and took the sidewalks away from behind the curb and put them closer to the building, and really just made this passageway much more campus in its feel, and less. It's still pretty good. So that was 2014. I'm showing you projects that kind of were developed up through 2014. When Carol Folt arrived, she asked us to update the plan again. So 2015, we actually re-engaged Air St. Rose to come back and take a look at the master plan. We looked also at the other campus holdings of Carolina North and Mason Farm. But you know, people really love being on campus. It's really hard to get people to want to leave campus. We tried in 2008 to redevelop Carolina North around a new law school, but that went the way of the recession. Then we tried to build an interdisciplinary research building. Again, it's really that site will still remain a land bank for us for the time being because there's so much infrastructure to build there that it makes the access to that site a little bit more challenging. So when we looked at what we needed the needs that we needed to fill, at least in the next 15 years, we started to really think about redevelopment as well as redevelopment. So you see for the first time on a plan, buildings that are shaded either yellow, which are new footprints, or shaded blue, which were really identified as major opportunities for renovation. And renovation in a way to really repurpose the buildings to meet today's program needs. So whether they're new workplace environments, whether they're new study environments, whether they're creating hubs where people can gather and collaborate, these are all the things that now are kind of embedded in this plan. You see the redevelopment of Odom Village. So we have demolished half of Odom Village. We hope to demolish the rest of that. But that offers a tremendous opportunity to really bring some more interdisciplinary research buildings. The new business school is sited on Blythe. So Blythe Road was actually built over on top of a walkable utility tunnel. And so, yes.
Any chance you just point to where some of these places are? Because
sure.
I know
I'm sorry.
Here,
so Blythe, here's the business school parking deck, here's McCall, and this is going to be the footprint of the new business school building. We'll be using that building to be able to connect from the school on the hill across to, because again, there's another really large grade change in this area. So Odom Village is down here, and this offers us another opportunity to build a different kind of open space, which would be much more of a naturalized space, again, with some stormwater features, and to take advantage of this last stand of large woods on campus. So we see still to the south opportunities for new development, but then as you get into the core of the building, Davis, Wilson, Davis is that big blue box up there. Wilson is the library that anchors Polk Place. Those are all opportunities that we see for renovation. And then I think you also have probably heard about the redevelopment of 134 and Portal right along Franklin Street as an opportunity for the university and the town to engage.
Odom Village, what is that going to become?
Odom Village, I think Odom Village we're thinking will be additional sites for, could be research, could be housing, but really I think that blend.
Yeah.
I'm happy to go right into the, yep.
To me, the most hideous eyesore on the campus is built while I was in the early 60s. Is Keenan Moorhead Lab. Which is the most communist looking. Everybody considered demolishing that and building something appropriate like the rest of the campus. Cladding or something.
Well, we certainly have been asked to think about cladding them in brick. Is your question along that, or should I come back to you?
That's a good takeoff for me.
Oh, okay, but let me talk to, let me see if I can, I think the challenge, those buildings, we have a couple of buildings in that category, right? I think Hamilton could be in that category. Davie could be in that category. I think the challenge, and we actually have renovated Moorhead, Chem, and Keenan. They're workhorse buildings. You know, they are really important buildings to teach STEM to the students and to house a very successful research program in the college, you know, for chemistry and I think it's mostly chemistry and applied physics. So, no, I don't really see us tearing those buildings down anytime soon, although we certainly would try to mask their surrounding with more attractive buildings so that they don't stick up as much as they.
So, now what I'm hearing you say is that the long-range plan is all built around infill of existing university boundaries and not having anything happen to the north. I've probably been here, well, did I not hear that correct?
Well, I don't.
Carolina North is a land bank.
Well, but you know, I don't. I mean, anything could change, right? I'm not there on campus right now, so I don't know. Maybe something is cooking, but I don't know that that we would put academic uses out there.
So here's my question: every year, real estate is extraordinary. Everything in building, everything in real estate is now impossibly high. I've been here 60 years, and that's been true every year since I've been here. Every piece of real estate I've bought, I paid the top of the market. It turned out to be 9, 10 years later. Somewhere around the late 1960s, early 70s, I was just coming of age as we get into the year conversation. And the medical school was beginning to grow like crazy. And there was talk about having medical schools. Having a hospital go out to Carolina North, which would have opened up South Campus, so being able to be an all academic place. And all that was talked about at that time was, oh dear, you can't imagine the plumbing that we have now in the hospital. Well, the plumbing in 1968 would be this much compared to the plumbing that is there now. So is Carolina North, do we have no plans for Carolina North?
I wouldn't say we have no plans because we still have a master plan for it.
What is it? And when is it going to be?
The 2009 master plan for Carolina North and the development plan did include both academic buildings, research buildings, public-private buildings, athletic facilities. It could be both recreational. I don't know if they would want to do a competitive venues out there. We certainly talked about cross-country, for example, as a potential venue. And, you know, we put quite a bit of acreage in the Chapel Hill and Carborough piece as a permanent easement, so about 300 acres, most of which is in Carborough. So I just don't, I don't know what would come out. I don't know what will happen first there. I don't. Yeah. And there were questions back here.
Yeah, I'm curious. I've heard you mention a number of things. Obviously, there's growth of student body, and I hear research labs. How would you qualify the rank, say the top 2 or 3 drivers? Is it a desire to become a prestigious research university? Is that what's driving it? Is it the medical school that's driving it? I mean, obviously there's big levers that are pushing this growth and others that don't matter very much.
Well, enrollment is still important. We're not growing at the rate that we had been growing in the 2000s, but there's still students that we're adding, maybe 100, you know, but it's not. So meeting the needs of the state is still very important. And we are expanding the medical school, the nursing school, for enrollment to make sure that the state can have enough nurses and doctors. We expanded the dental school for the same reason. So as the state grows, you can see the growth in some of these health sciences schools. We have a new school for data sciences and society that is still getting off the ground, and I think that reflects again a workforce need. The university, the mission statement, I could pull up the web. I mean, on the web page, I think it's to be a leading global public, right? And we are a research institution that is probably in the top 10, top 5 of public. So we do an incredible amount around health sciences, and I mean, I would say that we have lots of pillars of excellence, right? I wouldn't just frame it around 1 or 2, but we are a public school that has a really rich undergraduate education, and so I think these master plans all respond to the strategic priorities of the time. And we want to make sure that there's enough flexibility within that framework that the university can continue to grow in a considered way. And that growth might be redeveloping and renovating buildings, but that's still making your facilities, your legacy campus, as valuable as a new building. So I hope that helps answer your question.
Yeah, quick one. So I drive down Man Drive multiple times. My wife and I both swear put a sign up there, detour through June of 2023, and then 3 days later it's 2025. Which date is correct?
Are you talking about which?
Keenan Drive being shut down in the detour on Mason Farm. Yeah, the road that goes from.
Oh, they've just put that in place for the new business school.
Right. So.
Yeah, no, that might be until 2025. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there was one, and I'll go. Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned that Odom Village, the remainder of Odom Village will be torn down. Used to be mainly student housing.
Yep.
Could there be anything to pretty it up a little bit while you're waiting to tear it down? It's embarrassing.
It looks bad. It looks bad. It looks bad. And it is a high priority. We're hoping that we're going to get some funding out of this legislative session to finish taking it down.
Will that shortcut still? They're going to leave that road so I can cut back Mason Farm.
I can't answer your personal. I'm not here to do construction staging questions.
How much does the university work with the town in terms of bringing, all of these are going to bring more people, more students, more support staff. How are we going to handle the traffic? Do you have any liaison with that?
Well, I did, but I don't now.
Not you personally, but does UNC?
Yeah,
Someone
so we are wrapping up a housing study. I mean, we've had multiple conversations, actually through primarily Gordon Markline, who is the current ABC for real estate and campus auxiliaries. So we're wrapping up a housing survey that we engaged for faculty, staff, graduate students, and postdocs to understand what the interest is. Because it's not enough to build housing if people don't really want to move here, right? So to capture the interest and understand where the gaps are between the interest and what's going. Traffic is kind of interesting. We're just coming out of this COVID phase, but not everybody is back on campus. It is very busy in the health affairs area. Obviously, people there never really left their research labs. But on North Campus, the parking lots are not full. So we are also doing a 5-year, it just had started, a 5-year update to the transportation and parking plan. So it will be very interesting I think the results coming out of that will be very interesting, because there are groups that are hybrid, and there are groups, these are primarily on the administrative side, who are fully remote. And so just capturing what that looks like now, I think there's a lot, it'll be good information to find out.
Hi, thanks so much. Can you speak a little bit as to what the university is considering as it relates to climate change and the impact? Is that impacting the design of buildings? I love the stormwater cisterns. Is there more water capture? Kind of what is the thinking and embracing the challenges that climate change is going to present?
Well, the buildings are definitely more high performance.
What was the question?
The question was about environmental stewardship related to buildings, infrastructure. How are we responding to climate change? So we have energy goals that are actually quite ambitious. So our buildings, we try to reduce the energy use. I don't know if you knew, but we have a reclaimed water system on campus, and so we use reclaimed water from OWASA to produce all of our chilled water on campus. So we don't use potable water for that. And that was put in place in the late 2000s when we had that terrible drought. So most of our industrial use of the water is now reclaimed and not domestic. I know the big elephant in the room is our coal-fired cogeneration plant, but we are using more steam generated from gas these days than we are from coal. And I can't speak to the status of the alternative fuel study, but I know that is something that's underway.
Can you talk about the light rail?
Oh, this?
Yeah.
Yeah, we worked a lot on that light rail. There's no light rail. There's a placeholder for light rail. That's 2019. I mean, that's the way we approved it. I think it's a little disappointing, but the plan, we have been engaged in the BRT planning, the whole north-south corridor plan, and how that comes down into the university and services the health affairs campus. We don't have that shown on here, but our transportation planning group is quite involved with the MPO on that planning.
You talked about the Porthole Alley, but could you talk more about the buildings downtown and plans for them? And several of us that live in Chapel Hill just came back yesterday from Charlotte, and we had cleanliness envy, to be honest, because everything in uptown Charlotte was so clean, and we were going, we don't want Chapel Hill to look like this, but we sure wish it looked clean like this does.
Yeah, we did. We were engaged with this adopt-a-block with the town to focus on downtown Franklin Street, and it was a lot. I mean, it was really good for staff to meet, because I think what became very apparent is that the university staff and the town staff were not clear on what their responsibilities were. So we did kind of reaffirm who's in charge of what, and we agreed on areas that we were going to partner with. And so we're going to partner on the art side, and we're going to partner, but the bulk of Franklin Street is town maintained. So I can't really, I know that our grounds crew has a weekend crew to help clean up campus. Particularly, I mean, it's very sensitive this time of year. You see hundreds of people touring around, prospective students, soon-to-be students, families at spring break. So that and fraternity parties on the weekends just weren't aligning. So I know they spend quite a bit of time cleaning up on North Campus, on those campus edges, but they don't go on Franklin Street. So, but it's a partnership. But,
years ago, I took a tour, well, I took a course after the Paul Hardy Chapter, who worked in your office, and I learned more about that, especially how you try to put gardens and everything you build in. But as I look at that, is Battle Park not all these restrictions that keep you from using anything else in Battle Park?
Well, Battle Park actually is now administered, it's managed by the Botanical Garden. And so there's no development plan in Battle Park. Please don't get me in trouble there. So I think you realize that it's a real asset for the community, particularly when you see, so Battle Park, I mean, we still have this nice green edge that comes from Battle Park down the Pinetum all the way into the Botanical Garden. And when I talked about trying to preserve certain forested areas, certainly that edge to the east, as much as we can around Keenan Stadium that feeds into the Pinetum, those are, and then the Central Park, this area down, just this area, I don't know if you can see my cursor, that big last green lobe. I mean, I think those are really important assets for us to maintain on campus.
Anna, you must have an incredibly difficult job, and you did. Communicating with the state, within the university, and with the town. Tell me a bit about the dynamics of working with all those different forces coming in. And then you talked, Joe asked you about the light rail. Tell us about two of your great triumphs in your career that you achieved.
Well, that was a lot of questions. How is it working with the multiple constituencies when you are in a university setting? So town gown, university, and then achievements. I think, well, you know, relationships between the university and town kind of ebb and flow. And when the university is growing, they are often at their low points because it's very challenging. I mean, I understand that the 2000 to 2006 era was extraordinarily challenging for this community. I would like to think that people in Chapel Hill now, when they look at what we put in place, will think that maybe a lot of their fears were slightly unfounded. You know, that everybody's not going to like everything on campus, but you know, the story always is that the campus or the community is perfect when you move here and when you graduate. But you know, change happens. Change is inevitable. Change brings us, you know, without change, this university and this community would just stagnate. So, so I like, you know, you certainly learn that communicating with people about what that change looks like and when it's going to happen makes for more success, whether you're talking to the town or whether you're talking to faculty, students, or parents. So it's all about communication.
Do you want to talk about your greatest triumph as well?
Oh, my greatest triumph.
Retiring.
Well, I think we accomplished a tremendous amount, and that was really in partnership with a lot of people. One, I had terrific staff on campus. I mean, all those projects, I'm not managing all those projects. It takes a lot of talented professionals, both design and engineering and contractors. So partnering with staff, partnering with great leaders who had the vision and supported us in the development. Great partners with you know, designers and contractors in this state and outside. Because, you know, we brought all these disparate groups to campus to have them not just leave their building, but leave a building that we would have that would stay part of our campus for decades, if not 100 years.
Which building do you want to put your name on? Anna Wu building.
But, you know, when you work at an institution, the goal isn't what Anna did. The goal is to leave a place that can meet the needs of the campus for the next 50 years, where new students will come and find their special place, and it'll be as special to them as it was to their parents. I mean, one thing I love to do is I love to go into new buildings and find a view of the campus that I've never seen before. And that's because you have a different perspective. So I remember when we renovated Lenore and put that addition, being able to stand up in the addition and look on the south edge of Polk Place. Then I remember when we built Caudle Hall and we built that bridge, you could stand on that bridge, or you could be framed within the bridge, and you could see just this incredible sea of activity along the south side of Polk Place, see people, you know, streaming in and out of the pit. I was just on the top of Roper Hall, which is going to be finished up this spring, and being able to look south and see all the different buildings that were there that were new in the last 10 years, you know, you feel pretty good about that. So for me, that's what I really get a lot of personal pleasure from, because it's not going to be the same view that I see that other people see. But I think that's the important thing, is at campuses, you know, you will discover your place, you'll discover your spot, you'll discover the places that give you joy and where you'll make your memories, and that's the satisfying part. It's not what
Thank you for coming and speaking with us today. We'd like to present both of our speakers, specifically those with Tar Heel allegiances, with a little gift. One of our members established Mina's Gift, which is a charitable foundation. Artwork sold that supports Zimbabwe children's education. So that's for you. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good weekend. We'll see you next week.